Right, just click record. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll just give everyone one last minute and then we'll get us started. Worries. Okay, I think just in the interest of time, I'll kick us off. And again, for reference, this session is being recorded and we'll be providing the slides back to you all. So we'll just get started. Again, thank you so much for joining today's Pilot Awards Program 101 session. My name is Lorena Segura, and I'm the CFAR Senior Research Program Manager and the point of contact for the Traditional Pilot Awards program. For today, we have a bit of a tight agenda. We'll go over quick introductions. I'll call on folks from the CFAR team that has joined the call to provide just quick intros, and then I'll turn it back to the slides to go over a quick overview on the CFAR and the services that we provide. We'll talk about the Traditional Pilot Awards program, particularly this cycle, fall 2023, and then I'll turn it over to the DC cohort so they can provide an overview on the cohort and to speak more on the co-sponsorship opportunity for this cycle. And then to wrap it up, we'll have an opportunity for an open discussion and questions. Where we'll hopefully hear a little bit more from you all and for you to introduce yourselves then. And we aim to close, and we're closing at 4 p.m. So again, we'll try to keep the slides and everything a bit more brief to allow for plenty of discussion and questions. So with that, again, and I'll pull down the slides just so we can see each other. Quick intros from the CFAR team in the call. And as mentioned, hi, I'm Lorena Segura, this is Senior Research Program Manager, and I'll turn it over to Michael for quick intros.
Yes, hi, welcome everybody. I'm Michael Dugrinsky. I'm Director of Developmental Core, together with my colleagues, some of whom are here today. And I welcome everybody today. We're at this meeting. I hope you will get a lot of new information, or maybe not new, but at least you will learn something about the Pilot Awards, about the preparation for the Pilot Awards, and because we all want you to succeed and basically try to make your applications as good as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'll call on Mark.
Hi, good afternoon and welcome everybody. I am one of the co-directors of the Developmental Core. I'm located out of Howard University.
Thank you, Mark. I'll call Brandy.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brandy Robinson, and I am the Administrative Director for the CFAR.
Thank you, Brandy. And I see Vivian.
Sure. Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Vivian Kirkham, and I'm the core manager for the developmental core, the basic science core, and the clinical and population sciences core. So I'll be working with anyone who applies for the Pilot Awards and coordinating the consultation calls and core service requests.
Thank you, Vivian. Wendy?
Hi, Wendy Davis. I'm supporting the developmental core and in particular working with junior investigators who've expressed an interest in applying for pilot awards. So very glad to be here. My home is GW. Thanks.
Thank you, Wendy. And I just see that Kim joined us. Hi, Kim. We're doing quick intros if you can.
Hi, sure. I'm Kim Blankenship. I'm professor of sociology at American University and one of the co-directors of the Developmental Corps.
Great. And let me see. We have here from the DC-CFAR side, George, you want to do quick intros?
Good afternoon, everyone. George Kerr, and I am the community coordinator for the CFAR, and I also chair the CPC, Community Partnership Council.
Thank you, George. Cristian?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cristian Mendoza. I work as a center associate for the admin core at the DC-CFAR, and you might have seen quite a bit of emails from me in the past regarding all sorts of DC-CFAR stuff. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Cristian. And then before I bring up the slides again, just wanted to give an opportunity for the cohort to introduce themselves. So I'll call on Amanda.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Castan, professor in the Department of Epi, and I'm also the EHE SWIG lead for the DC-CFAR, but I'm here in my capacity as principal investigator of the DC cohort.
Thank you, Amanda. And then to wrap us up, Anne.
I'm Anne Monroe. I'm faculty at GW, co-lead of the Aging and Comorbidity SIG, but wearing my DC cohort program director hat today.
Great. Thank you all. So I'm going to bring us back to the slides. I hope you can see that. Great. Thank you, Anne. Okay, so as mentioned, we'll be going over a brief overview of the DC-CFAR. I'll try to walk us through all of these slides, but please stop me if you have any questions, and to our core directors, please chime in when you see fit. So as brief of background, the NIH-funded Center for AIDS Research, here you can see a map. There are currently 19 CFARs across the US. And the overall mission for these NIH-funded centers is to support multidisciplinary HIV research in these different fields shown below. And our mission for the DC-CFAR is to intensify our multi-institutional effort to support research that contributes to the to ending the HIV epidemic in Washington, DC and beyond. And we do that in partnership with government and community. As you can see here, a list of our different institutional partners. At the top here, we have our academic partners, so GW, Georgetown, Howard, and American University. We also have the VA and Children's and DC Health, and Women Walker, and most recently joining us, Us Helping Us as an institutional partners. Below, you'll see what we call our summary measures, including our current members and the numbers of awards that we've provided throughout the years as the DC-CFAR. Oops. So again, this lists our mission and our specific aims. I won't go through each of our aims, but most notably, the DC-CFAR supports this mission by providing scientific leadership and institutional infrastructure. And what we're going to be focusing on today is mostly on that driving of the development and recruitment of early stage new investigators, and by supporting that consequential HIV research in different fields. Again, here's a list of our major activities as DC-CFAR. The main focus for today, again, is the pilot awards, but we also provide different core services, which we'll talk a little bit more about. We support multi-institutional NIH grant applications, because we are an NIH-funded center, we track all of these different services, grants, publications. We promote community-engaged research and host citywide core and scientific working groups, seminars, and symposiums. And lastly, we share all of this great information through different platforms, including our website, social media, and our weekly newsletter called the Weekly Update. So if you want to stay connected with our DCCFAR, that's a way to do so. Okay, so here we have a bit of the our organizational chart just to lay out our DCCFAR, including at the top in a lighter blue, the advisory committees that advise our executive committee, which provides that leadership across of our different cores. Today, we're going to be talking mostly about the developmental core, so that leads this pilot program, but also sharing what our scientific cores, there are different services that they provide, including our basic sciences, clinical and population sciences core, and our social and behavioral sciences core. Below here, we have what we call our scientific working groups and interest group, which provide a forum for investigators with specific set of interests. So if you see here a specific area that you might be interested in, I'll have a slide later on to share a bit more of information about these different groups. Okay, so our developmental core, Core B, again, the aim for this core is to promote and support innovative and collaborative HIV research. We also lead a dynamic mentoring program for early stage investigators and new investigators in the HIV field, and also provide different opportunities, educational and networking activities for investigators. Here we have listed the different research award programs that we support, including the Traditional Pilot Award, which we'll talk a lot about today. The Transitioning Investigator program, which provides funds to established investigators new to the HIV field. The Academic Community Partnership Council Award, Partnership Award. We also have hosted in the past a rapid response, particularly a cycle focused on Mpox and COVID-19. And ongoing, we have our microgrant program, which provides small funds for our investigators to support publications and services. And lastly, again, mentioning our mentoring program and different educational and training activities. We have our journal club seminars, our MyPath seminars and such. So this core is very busy, and as you can see here, the different pictures of the directors that form part of this core. So I'll pause here to see if anyone from the core has anything else you wanted to add. And please feel free to chime in. I can't see anyone's, hands and such with the slides. Okay, hearing none, I will move us along. So again, here we have our different scientific core services. And here are the different services that our cores provide. This is not an extensive list. I encourage you to visit our DCCFAR website for additional details and how to request this information and how to request these services. But I will say that all of the cores are available to provide consultations and to support these pilot awards applications. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Our core services providers are more than happy to help facilitate any support. So to list them off really quickly, our basic sciences core focuses on providing high impact laboratory services and training and consultations and those techniques related to these services. Our clinical population sciences, or our CPS core, also provides consultations in study design and biostats analysis support, and also access to different cohorts across the DC area. And lastly, our social and behavioral sciences core, our SBS core, also provides a wide range of support in the behavioral sciences area. Okay, this is a busy slide, but basically, again, just to mention our different scientific working groups and scientific interest groups, we have them listed here, and the different meeting times that these groups usually meet. If you are interested in joining, if you are interested in any of these fields, please feel free to reach out. Christian is also on the call, so feel free to include your emails in the chat or anything else. If you have any questions about this group, please feel free to reach out. Really quickly, again, this is what we call the Facebook slide of our executive committee. So you can see here all of the directors for the different cores and our scientific working groups. And here we have a bit of information about our Community Partnership Council, formerly our CAB, our Community Advisory Board, is comprised by prominent members and leaders across the DC HIV community. And the CPC's active participation is considered one of the hallmarks of the DC CFAR. And to bring this back to this seminar, our CPC members are widely engaged with our pilot award program. They participate in our consultation calls. They actually review our applications. So we just wanted to make sure to mention that. But here we include a list of different activities that they engage in. And I know George is in this call, so I'm going to check if he has anything else he wanted to share.
I think you covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Okay. All right. I feel like I really rushed through this, so I'm so sorry. You had any, I hope these all made sense, but please, again, stop me with any questions and such.
Lorena,
Yeah.
we have a question in the chat about joining one of the SWIGs or SIGs. Could you explain to the people how to get on their mailing list on the different SIGs and SWIGs that you just went over? Yes.
So, and I see here, Christian just beat me to the punch. Well, I see that Deborah's interested in the global SIG, and I know Vivian supports this group. So I'll let Vivian chime in.
Sure, thanks, Lorena. Dr. Costco, I see you're interested in joining the Global SIG. Anyone who's interested, I will include my email in the chat, and I will add you to the membership list for the Global SIG or the Women in HIV SIG. So I will add the information in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Vivian, for allowing me to sip a little bit of water. Okay. And thank you, Mark. Any other questions I might have missed from the chat? Or anything?
Just while we're on the topic, again, if you're interested in joining either of our scientific working groups, so the EHE or the HIV Cure SWIG or the Latinx, Drug User Health or Aging and Comorbidity SIG, feel free to email me or message me directly here if you're interested in joining those groups.
Thank you, Christian. Okay. All right. So just to turn it back to the program, Traditional Pilot Awards Program, we do have a couple of slides here. So for this cycle of the fall 2023, we have a few new updates, and we have here listed the timeline for the cycle. So first, the Traditional Pilot Award Program aims to provide pilot funds on a competitive basis for a one-year period to investigators and assisting them in development for their NIH-funded research careers in the HIV field. These programs should focus on the different NIH HIV priority areas, and the scope includes all of these different fields in HIV sciences. Most notably, newly for this cycle, our pilot awards program, investigators can request up to 75,000. And we'll later go over the co-sponsorship opportunity with the DC cohort, where investigators can request up to 87,500. So investigators that are interested in submitting a traditional pilot awards program application must submit a pre-submission. These are required. And special considerations will be given to applications that are collaborating with the cohort, with the MaxWise study, and our different scientific working groups and interest groups. I'll walk us through the timeline a bit. So the RFA, our request for applications document, will be released today after this call. So you'll be seeing that going out shortly with more information, and also be posted on our DCCFAR website. The pre-submission forms are due on the 1st of September. And again, this is a requirement in order to submit a full application. And the form is located in our DCCFAR website. We will be hosting consultation calls, which basically allows investigators to meet with the developmental core and bring their mentors and co-Is and other experts to have that initial discussion about the pre-submission, and can make sure to connect them to services and all of those good conversations. The developmental core will be hosting a grant writing workshop on September 8th. And we'll be providing additional information in the weeks ahead about the grant writing workshop. Just wanted to make sure to plug that in here and to add that to your calendar, and it will be a great opportunity throughout your grant application process. Aside from this, we will also be hosting a specific aims review, which will be scheduled sometime in mid-October, and we'll be following up with applicants with additional information about this opportunity. Full applications will be due on November 3rd at 5 p.m. And information on how to submit this application will be found in the request for applications. We'll be reviewing that, and the anticipated project start date is January 1st. So, all right. Okay, and here we have in this slide just a bit more of information of our recent pilot award recipients. You can see here the title and the different institutions that they are from. If you're interested in learning more from our previous award recipients, we have a bit more of information about this on our DCCFAR website, including an abstract under project as well, if that's of interest. Here's a screenshot of the RFA, the request for application, which will be again available later today. We encourage you all to read through this document very carefully, as it includes all the different information and instructions on how to submit this application and all of the different requirements. And just to go over in terms of the eligibility of who could submit for this opportunity. So again, funds are provided to early stage and new and transitioning investigators in the HIV field. We have a special emphasis on women and underrepresented minorities. And faculty investigators from the 9 DCCFAR institutions that we just went over are eligible to apply as a PI. You will also have to be a DCCFAR full member, and in order to create your membership, it's pretty simple, and we have a link right here and also available on our website. So as mentioned, in our RFA, you'll have a bit more detailed application instructions. We just included a bit of a screenshot here, but just to note that we have a application form. Just this one, just a brief screenshot. So we encourage you all to work from that document and to make sure that all of the different pieces in the form are filled out. And in terms of the review process for this application, we have a DCCFAR scientific review committee, which includes of 3 non-conflicted reviewers of 2 scientific experts and 1 CPC member to review each application. And they use the NIH criteria to do so. And we'll be providing what we call pink sheets to applicants as well to share more details on this review. So I'm pretty sure this might be our last slide before I turn it over to the cohort. I'm also looking at the time, but we just wanted to share a few tips from the core to make sure you all have a successful pilot application. So first, again, as mentioned, the RFA includes all the different details you'll need and instructions in order to submit this application. We encourage applicants to prepare early and identify the services needed and offered across the DCCFAR, including the cores and any other collaborations that they would like to work with. Throughout this program, mentorship is key. And if you would need additional support in identifying a mentor, the developmental core is available to support you with that. And additional details about mentorship is included in the RFA as well. As in all other applications, the specific aims page is central to the application, and that's why we provide the review sessions and all of that great stuff. So should you have any questions or need additional support, please reach out. And resubmissions are welcome. We do receive resubmissions, and additional details and requirements for resubmissions are also included in the RFA. And lastly, community engagement. As you all know, community work is central to DCCFAR, so this is essential for applications. So I'll stop here in case any of our developmental core directors have anything else to add, anything they wanted to chime in.
One of the things to remember is that if you're not submitting from GW, if you're not a non-GW faculty, so for example, Howard or American or other institutions, that you must give yourself enough time to route your application through your office of sponsored research to go to GW as you would like a regular NIH grant. So if your office of sponsored research says they need 10 business days, make sure you give yourself that 2-week period before to have it submitted.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Mark.
I want to reiterate what Lorena said about mentorship, that really this is key to the program, that you have a committed mentor who will work with you during application and afterwards. And basically, developmental core will help you identify the mentor if you have a problem with this. But we really encourage you to do it early rather than later, so that you start working with the mentor from the very beginning of your application process.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mark. Tim, anything else?
I can't think of anything right now.
Okay. All right. Sorry for calling on you, just checking. Okay. So really quickly, oh, I thought this was my last slide. Never mind. We do have also newly created Dropbox, Research Awards Resources. This is a living Dropbox. We'll be including different examples and resources to help support your application process, and it will be available on the request for applications. All right, that was my last slide. So now I'll turn it over to the DC cohort. And Amanda.
Great, thank you so much. We are thrilled to be co-sponsoring pilot awards this cycle between the DC CFAR and the DC cohort. So we will award up to 2 pilot awards this cycle, and the proposal amount for a DC cohort project is $87,500. And so for a DC cohort project, we're really looking for something that is the structure of the DC cohort is essential to the conduct of the project. So I'll go into this in a little bit more detail later, but we're really looking for projects that either use the data structure and the available data from the DC cohort or are pilot projects within the DC cohort, not just recruiting individuals from the DC cohort. And so I'm happy to, I'll make that distinction a little bit more clearly, but in order to get that enhanced amount of money, it really has to be a DC cohort focused project. This is a priority for this cycle of the program. And we, in addition to whatever mentorship you bring to the table, Dr. Castell and I will be very heavily involved in this project, and we'll meet with you early to determine what is feasible and available. So what we're asking, if you are specifically interested in a DC cohort opportunity, is to reach out to Amanda and myself with a 1-paragraph description of the aims and methods that you're proposing by August 14th. And then we will be asking for a full concept sheet submission based on some further discussion following that submission of your paragraph. And we would like that concept sheet by August 21st. Now, if we get multiple concept sheets, we will actually narrow that down to the 2 applicants that we can support to submit a full application. And so we will let those individuals know by August 28th who are the individuals who would be invited to submit a full application. Because if we receive 5 separate concepts, we will have to narrow that down so that we can devote the appropriate resources to moving the 2 candidates that we feel are most likely to be successful forward into the full applications. And we have a graphic that shows all these dates. So please don't worry about catching them here. We'll show you again because there are a lot of dates. And in the full pilot award application for the DC CFAR, there will need to be a letter of support and an approved concept sheet from the DC cohort. So, oh, great, thank you. So for those of you who are less familiar with the DC cohort, it is an NIH-funded study funded through the Clinical Trials Unit from 2009 to 2020, and then funded as its own independent R24. Our funding cycle for the R24 started in 2020, and we are getting ready to submit a renewal because the funding will expire in 2025. It's a longitudinal database of consenting people with HIV who receive outpatient care at 14 different clinics within DC. And we have data on risk factors such as HIV transmission risk, diagnoses, both HIV-related and non-HIV-related diagnoses, lab results, both HIV-related and non-HIV-related labs, treatment, HIV and non-HIV related, and procedures that the patients have undergone. There's a baseline data abstraction that's done manually by the site research assistants, and that's followed by monthly automated electronic health record extractions into a centralized database. One of the great things about the DC cohort is that it is a citywide initiative with academic, community, and government clinics all participating. It mirrors the spirit of collective work of the DC CFAR in that all the institutions work together on this project. It's one of the largest HIV cohorts to date with over 12,000 participants. And we also collaborate with the DC Health Department to improve the completeness of information through data linkages. All right, now let's take the next slide. Great. So this is, I mentioned that we have academic, community, and government clinics. And so this is a list of all of the different participating clinics across DC, the electronic health record that they use and what year it was implemented and what type of clinic it is. All right, and so next slide. Okay, so this is a little graphic showing our DC cohort consent and data flow. So we do have research assistants at each individual clinic. They consent the patients. They do that historical data abstraction so that we can get, for example, the HIV diagnosis date, the lowest CD4 the patient ever had. These are things that might not necessarily be discrete fields in the electronic health record. So they are manually abstracted. Then we have that monthly export from the health record of various risk factors, treatments, diagnoses, labs. This is merged from 14 sites into a centralized database, which is at the DC, the GW Biostatistics Center in Rockville. That's processed monthly with queries and audits and linked with the health department quarterly. And then every quarter we have an analytic dashboard. Every quarter we have an analytic data set that can be used for different projects and is also loads our clinic facing DC cohort dashboard. Okay, and next slide, please. Great. So, we've done, if you look at the DC cohort website, you'll see that we have 45 publications covering various aspects of HIV care, comorbidity care, but some scientific focus areas that we think might be valuable moving forward are specifically nailing down cancer diagnoses, STIs and public health interventions focused on reducing HIV risk. And I won't read these all out, but I invite you to peruse this list and see if there's anything that aligns with your own research interests. And I would also invite you to take a close look at the manuscripts that have been published to see the kinds of scientific areas that we have covered and things that we might want to try to tackle in the future. All right, the next slide. Okay, so we're so excited that people may choose to use the DC cohort for their pilot awards. And we think some of the really unique features of the DC cohort are this automatic data capture from electronic health records. The fact that we have a longitudinal sample, we began enrolling patients in 2011. This is a population-based sample because patients are enrolled at all different types of HIV care venues. We include pediatric clinics within DC. So we have pediatrics to geriatrics in terms of our age range. This diversity of care venues, the linkage with the health department that brings in extra information about HIV labs and sexually transmitted infection labs, as well as other supplemental diagnosis data. I briefly mentioned that we have a clinic-facing dashboard, so we're able to interface with the clinic staff at each clinic through this dashboard, which is a really unique aspect. It's not just a research study that's purpose is publishing papers. We also have the capacity to feed information back to the sites, which is really can be really impactful. And that it's both a public health and a research resource, not just a research resource. You can see I'm a big cheerleader for the cohort. Okay, so let me just briefly cover the data sources that we have, and I do have a data dictionary that I can send out to anybody who's interested in that. So we can move on to the next slide. So we have not only this whole database with all of the electronic health record data and that limited manual data abstraction, but we also have surveyed patients. So we have results from these screening instruments that are displayed in this table. So there are mental health screening questionnaires, self-reported substance use, medication adherence, quality of life, social determinants of health, symptom burden, and stigma. So these patient-reported outcomes are information that's reported directly by DC cohort participants and can be linked to all of their other DC cohort data. Next slide, please. So we have had 869 participants, and this data is slightly out of date. I think this was for the last talk we gave for the pilots. I think we have over 1,000 people now who have completed their initial PROS survey, and we have over 200 people who have done a subsequent survey. So we have longitudinal PROS data in a subset of these individuals as well. So a nice, robust patient-reported outcomes database. All right, and next slide. Okay, we also did a COVID survey. So this was launched in October of 2020. And the COVID survey was also administered to DC cohort participants and can be linked to their DC cohort data and queried about all of these different domains, ranging from healthcare access to the impact of COVID-19, the pandemic in general on their lives, to their use of telehealth as a result of the pandemic. So again, another great primary data source. All right, next slide. And so,
sorry,
yeah,
I just wanted to add.
Yeah.
We also have vaccine data on those individuals, and then information about long COVID as well.
Yes, definitely. So lots of information there, and we through the regular DC cohort database, we have their the COVID test results for COVID that was done, COVID tests that were done at the clinic. So we have 2,300 patients who have done that survey and 1,100 who've completed the surveys to assess whether they have long COVID symptoms. Okay, and because we were already out in the field doing surveys, we were able to add questions about MPOX. So if anybody has a particular interest about MPOX, we also did surveys about MPOX awareness, negative impact of MPOX, impact of MPOX on their daily lives. And so that was also really great to be able to launch that in real time. Next slide. So that was added in August 2022, and over 500 people have completed that MPOX survey questionnaire. Now, so after the presentation through Lorena, I will send out a link to the main DC cohort data dictionary. So just all the variables that we collect from the electronic health record, as well as the data dictionary for the PROS, which was that mental health substance use, the COVID survey, and the MPOX survey. So you can take a look at all the different variables that were assessed in all of those different sources. So that gives you a little bit more detail. And then if you have ideas or questions, then Amanda and I can help talk through what you might be able to do with your interests in these different variables and domains. I think that might be the last one. Is that? I think, or maybe there's one more with the timeline. Oh, okay. All right. So the data dictionaries, you don't have to ask for them. We're going to give them to you. Don't worry. If you're here, you'll get the data dictionaries. Then the data request and concept sheets are available on the website. And so you'll need to complete a DC cohort concept sheet. We do have data use agreements. If you are going to analyze your own data, then we would ask you to do a data use agreement so that we can give you a de-identified data set. If the DC cohort analysts are going to be doing your analysis, then we will keep the data in-house and our analysts will do your data analysis, and you will just need to budget for their time. And that's the next bullet, that our analytics staff are available to work with you. And you do not have to analyze your own data or find your own analyst. And these concepts that you're going to write will be reviewed by our entire DC cohort executive committee, which consists of the site principal investigators at all 14 clinics. And please, please review the website because there's so much information and you can see everything that we've already published. Okay, so this is that timeline to try to help pull together all those dates that I had in the other slide. So we want to talk to you early and often, right? So we would like to have a 1-paragraph description of what you'd like to do by the 14th. We'll set up some meetings from the 14th to the 18th to talk with you about what you're proposing and if we think it's feasible. And then we're going to ask you to submit a more fleshed out formal concept sheet. This is a DC cohort concept sheet by the 21st. We'll assess feasibility. We'll narrow down our pool to 2 applicants. Then that concept sheet will go out to the DC cohort executive committee. Then we'll work with you over the period up until the full application for the DC CFAR is due to identify potential partner clinics and to get the support of all of the different clinics on your proposal so that you can be successful in completing it once you get funded, which we hope that these projects will get funded. So that I think is actually the final slide. Yes, so yes, we are happy to take any questions and we will send out that information so that you can get a good detailed view of all of the variables that are available.
Thank you, Anne, so much.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to pull down the slides because I think we're just going to turn it over to you all to see if there are any questions from the group. Please feel free to unmute and introduce yourself. And yes, I'll open it up for questions.
Lorena, let me ask the first question just to keep it moving. Okay. I know that we discussed that at our meeting of the directors, but I'm still a little bit kind of confused. So DC cohort will recommend 2 applications basically for funding, right? I mean, we'll select 2 applications for funding. And what happens if they do not get fundable score, let's say? I mean, this would end with the less than one application focused on DC cohort, right? So being funded. So I'm a little bit kind of uncertain whether this is really a good way to approach that. I don't know whether we already set it up and there is no way around it, but I think there should be kind of more to select from, because we really want DC cohort to be addressed in the applications. I think that's really critical for the program, and for the applicants as well. It's good to get extra money and focus on a medically important cohort. So
Michael, I think I can answer your question.
Okay.
So this is our second time doing these pilot awards, and the first round we were really thrilled that we had a lot of interest in the cohort. But I think we had 6 people who were interested in submitting, and in the end we actually had 0 submissions. It takes a lot of work for us to coordinate with the sites, to help people get up to speed with what the cohort can and cannot do. And to make sure that we are really supporting the best science moving forward. So that's why this time we are only limiting it to 2 applications, so that we can hopefully ensure that those are the 2 strongest applications that go forward. But, you know, we are large in data, but small and mighty in people. And so we really want to try to hone in and really support any application that goes forward. And we just don't have the bandwidth to do multiple applications. We learned that the first time.
Thank you, Amanda. Michael, does that answer your question? Great. Okay, I see another question or a hand raise.
Hi, thank you so much for a great opportunity for the introduction of the pilot start award and also DC cohort. So I think that I missed some information about the DC cohort, but could we also request like a blood samples or specimens from the HIV infected individuals in your cohort, or just for requesting the data?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. So we currently do not have a specimen repository. So there are no stored specimens associated with the overall DC cohort. But we would encourage you, if there is something that you're interested in studying, that we could work with you to determine if we could collect samples de novo from clinics. Again, because we collaborate with these different clinics across DC, we just have to get the buy-in from the investigators at the various clinical sites. But there certainly would be an opportunity to use the pilot funding money to do specimen collection, to provide a compensation for the participants' time and effort for contributing the sample, and then paying for the analytic work, the blood analysis that you want to perform.
So that would be great, yeah, because I applied for the NIH grant application, but the order of review was currently requesting me to conduct the experiment with using the clinical samples. So then I was wondering whether I can also collaborate with your cohort, especially for my HIV cure research, and also you are by providing the blood specimens as well. And so may I give you another question about the eligibility? Actually, I am a new assistant professor at American University beginning in this month. However, I got a PhD degree more than 10 years ago. And so I have been working on HIV studies and in the previous institute, I think for several years. So thus, under the NIH guideline, I am not qualified, actually classified as a early stage investigator, but could I still can I still apply for the pilot award opportunity as a transition or new investigator?
Thank you so much for that question. Yes, we do accept application for new investigators in HIV. In the RFA, there's additional information, but we do want to make sure that investigators don't have an R01 or similar award in HIV. And if that's not the case, you should be eligible. And welcome to American University and to the DC CFAR.
Thank you so much. So I have already gotten the R15 NIH grant by HIV study, but this is not an R01, such a big grant. So then I can still apply for the pilot award as well, right?
Yes, if it's not an R01 equivalent award.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions. Any other questions from the group? I know we only have around 7 more minutes, so I just wanted to check. Oh, sorry, Jan, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I wanted to make one more comment. So with regards to the using the DC cohort as the platform for your pilot. So certainly if you decided that you wanted to collect blood samples de novo, we'd also want you to use the other DC cohort data as part of your overall project. We wouldn't necessarily, and we can talk about nitty-gritty details like this when we have our individual conversations with you, but it likely would not be enough just to recruit individuals at DC cohort sites without using any of the other infrastructure of the DC cohort. Like we'd want to figure out some way that you could use CD4 data or viral load data or HIV medication data or something else. Because otherwise you don't really need the cohort. You could just work with an individual clinic to recruit patients to have their blood drawn at that clinic.
Ah, I see.
So we'd want it to really be a DC cohort centered project.
I see.
Yeah.
So please let me send more detail approach what I want to do by email.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. We can definitely get into those details. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? We have around 5 more minutes.
I will mention that since everybody here on the Zoom call has either expressed interest in the past or this upcoming cycle, we do keep track of individuals who are interested in submitting HIV grants, and we will be in contact as part of our No Investigators Left Behind program and our mentoring program to make sure that we are at least touching base to see how you're doing and what we can do to assist you in the future.
Thank you, Mark. That's a wonderful reminder.
And I just put the link to the data dictionaries in the chat, and anybody from CFAR, please feel free to also send that link, and we're happy to take questions about those data dictionaries.
Yes, thank you. And we'll make sure to send that along with the recording and the slides.
Thank you.
Okay. Since I'm not hearing any other questions, I think we're going to wrap up this session. Let me just check that I didn't have any other slides. That's why I'm pulling this up. Oh, no, it was just contact us. Here are our emails. If you have any questions, please reach out. We're available to help and hopefully be hearing from you all soon. Oh, and I think Vivian just added this to the chat as well, but we would love and be very grateful for feedback on this session. There's a survey link in the chat, and we'll be sending this out as well. Thank you all so much for joining. I'll close off the session. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.